Got an interesting one on Monday Night Football this week. The Chicago Bears traveling to New York to face the Jets. The Jets are a 2.5-point favorite on BETDAQ. 44 is the total here. I think a lot of people were surprised at this line because the Bears are generally regarded as a better team than the Jets. And so a lot of people look at this game and say this is a case of the better team getting points. But upon further examination, I'm just not sure it's quite that simple. You look at the Bears and they're a team with great skill position talent on offense, maybe the best tandem of wideouts in the entire NFL in Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey. Now both those guys listed as questionable for this game. Marshall still bothered by that ankle, Alshon Jeffrey nursing a sore hamstring, but they both played on those injuries last week, so we do expect to see them out there. Marshall, you remember, had a big game on that bad ankle last week against San Francisco. So I do think that is the biggest thing that Bears bettors or Bears fans have going for them in this game, and should be the biggest concern for Jets backers. That is the Chicago passing attack against the New York secondary, because even though the Jets have played very well on the defensive side of the ball this year, they rank third in total defense. The weakness of that New York defense is the secondary, specifically the cornerback position, and the Jets will likely be without their best cornerback, D. Milner, in this game. He is listed as doubtful, so that's problematic for the Jets, no doubt about it, trying to contain this Chicago passing attack with their current cornerback situation. However, the Bears are going to have some problems on their own containing the New York offense. You know, the Bears are a team, as we said, great skill position talent, a quarterback who can make all the throws, and Jay Cutler, even though Cutler very inconsistent throughout his career. They also have a Pro Bowl running back in Matt Forte. So people like the Bears. People like betting on the Bears. People like points. They like offense. They like big name offensive players. And I think that's why there's been a little bit of a difference between the perception of the Chicago Bears and the reality of what the Bears are over the past year and a half, ever since Mark Trestman took over there. I think most NFL observers would say that Trestman's done a pretty good job in Chicago. After all, they finished second in the NFL in total offense last season, won 8 games. However, over their last 18 games, the Bears have only covered 5 times. And that would only be 4 times in their last 18 games had they not pulled off that miraculous second-half comeback in San Francisco last week that was aided by those Colin Kaepernick turnovers. So this has been a toxic team to back, really the worst team in the NFL to back over the last year plus. And I think that would surprise a lot of people who just don't realize that. And one has a lot to do with the other. The fact that that surprises people, that's why the Bears have had trouble covering, because the perception of this team is just different than the reality. And the reality of the Chicago Bears is they're a team that cannot stop the run. They finished 32nd, dead last in the NFL in rushing defense last season. They allowed over 160 rushing yards per game. Now, I don't care how good your offense is. If you're allowing 160 rushing yards per game, it's just tough to win consistently. And this year, through 2 games, the Bears are allowing 160 rushing yards per game. They're 31st in the NFL. So they appear to have not improved at all in that area. Just so happens that the New York Jets lead the NFL in rushing through 2 games this season. The Jets averaging just shy of 180 rushing yards per game. They've got that 3-headed monster at running back, Chris Johnson, Chris Ivory, and of course Bilal Powell. So that is a terrible matchup for the Chicago defense here facing this New York offense. I don't bet on the Jets often just because I don't trust their quarterback, Geno Smith. The guy has real turnover issues. But in this game here, I think Smith is going to be able to be a game manager, throw 20 or 22 passes for 150 or 160 yards, and I think the Jets offense will be just fine. For that reason, I do like New York in this game. Now, I think both teams are going to be able to score. I also lean towards over 44 here, and I don't often like the over in games involving the New York Jets because they're a team with a good defense, shaky offense, shaky quarterback. But in this case, where the Jets are going to be able to really run it right at the Bears, and the Bears are going to have success throwing the ball against this New York secondary, I think over 44 makes a lot of sense. And like I said, I think the Jets are going to win this game and cover the 2.5.